Here's your host, Dennis Rimmer.
Hello again, it's Dennis Rimmer, DR here on Talking Books and Writing and Stuff, and an old friend coming back. I didn't mean it that way. It's one of our earlier interviews when we first started this endeavor was with Joan Havelange, now based in Russell, Manitoba. Joan, you would have been out on the golf course today, but I guess conditions are not quite favorable for that anymore, are there? Or is
Well,
it?
I wouldn't know if I sliced my ball or if the wind took it.
If I know, just to let folks know, this is June 6th, D-Day, actually, that we're doing this chat.
Yes.
Yes. So do you have a D-Day connection, Joan?
Well, my uncles were obviously and I shouldn't say obviously, we're in the Second World War. And I have two grown grandchildren who are in the armed forces. I have a grandson who's with the Army, and he's a staff, I don't know,
Oh, well.
something like. And my granddaughter's a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force.
Oh, wow. So
We're all very in tune with the vets of past and the vets of future.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's great. And I'm in the Legion through to my father and my uncles and things like that. So I encourage everyone to join the Royal Canadian Legion or whatever Legion is in your area. You don't have to, you can just be an ordinary member. So that's my plug for today. So we're talking with Joan Havelange from Russell, Manitoba. Now, you didn't start out in Russell, did you? Were you from Saskatchewan in the main?
Yes, born and raised in Saskatchewan and moved to northern Manitoba for work-related issues way back in the 1900s. No, not in the 1900s, but 1998 or whatever the heck it was. And we lived up there for many, many years, and then we came back south and then moved back to Saskatchewan, and now I'm in Manitoba.
Right, and Joan has been very busy. Last time we talked, it was in 2019, I think. It was Wayward Shot. Your two buddy golfers in the book world were out golfing. Golf ball lands on a dead body, and things just went from there. So you've had 6 more since then. How do you do it? What's your secret?
I have more imagination than time to write it, I think. Well, for my whodunits or cozy mysteries, Agatha Christie hated the term cozy mysteries, whodunit. But anyway, they take place in Saskatchewan. And then I took my protagonists, Violet and Mabel, I took them to Egypt, and they had to solve a murder in a locked cabin on the Nile. And then I took them all the way to Russia, where Mabel was accused of murder, so that was kind of fun.
Oh.
And then I wanted something a little different than a whodunit. I wanted to write a thriller, and so I did. Moving as Murder is a thriller, and it's a different genre. There's more danger and wits to have to be matched, all that sort of thing. And then now this one, the Seance Murder, takes place in Saskatchewan, and it's a historical mystery. And now, just a little bit of background. My publisher, BWL, has commissioned Canadian authors, because they have authors in the United States, Great Britain, Australia, but anyway, commissioned the Canadian authors to write a historical mystery for each province and territory. And they asked me if I'd do Saskatchewan, and I left it the chance. And I set my historical mystery in 1908 in Regina, Saskatchewan.
And it's called The Seance Murders. So, yeah, like you say, it was, I'll say commissioned, but that's quite an honor to have the publishers come to you and say, hey, do this book here. We've got this series idea in mind, and I'm sure you jumped at it. So was there an inspiration along the line and a what-if moment for The Seance Murders?
Well, I was very thrilled that they asked me to do Saskatchewan. And 1908 was a busy year for Saskatchewan. There was an election. Premier Scott was he was the first premier of Saskatchewan, and there was an election. Also, the Parliament buildings were being built in that year. And so I thought, well, that might be a good spot to start it because there was a lot going on. It was a big building boom in Regina. There was a lot going on with immigrants and, just a lot of things going on. And then, of course, back then, the pioneers, like they would have a plot of land. They had to break so much land in order to keep that land. And, those people were amazing. But I set mine, the seance murders, because during that time, there was a lot of people that believed in spiritualism, that somebody could talk to the dead. And, of course, these were all people that were just being flummoxed because they believed in something and there was someone ready to rip them off, as there probably still is.
Yeah, and of course, the 1908, well, Saskatchewan is officially a province carved out of the Northwest Territories, I guess it was, only in 1905. So the province is young, and all of these things are happening. People are getting used to, I guess railroads are coming.
It was a real. I'll just read you a little blurb at the back of the book. And 1908, Regina, Saskatchewan, the railroad hub of the prairies, is booming.
Uh-huh.
The foxtrot is the latest craze hitting the dance halls, and the silent movies are all the rage. And the newest fad, seances that intrigue Myrtle Van Hoff. And Myrtle Van Hoff, she has a twin brother, Leopold. And I made them twins because they were the same age, but in that day and age, men, maybe even now yet, have more advantage than women. The women were just, not that her parents were mean or nasty, with just the sign of the times. Women, their best advantage was to stay home and raise a family and not to go out in a career, to get a career or even drive a car. And Leopold, same age as her, he gets all that advantage. So it was kind of nice to do a little social commentary of the time.
It was, and that's the seance murders. So let's go through your list of works here. Wayward Shot, that was 2019. Can you summarize that one real quick?
Well, Wayward Shot takes place on a golf course, and this is their very first murder investigation. These two gals, they're retired nurses, and one in particular, Mabel, sure she can solve these murders, and this is sort of even ties in with this one. Like Myrtle, in my seance murders, the gal is quite young, but she's a Sherlock Holmes fan. And while they're at the seance table, everybody's holding hands on the table, and they're having a seance. Her eyes are wide open, and someone is stabbed at the table. Now, how does that happen?
How does that happen?
Is there spiritualism? But she is, actually, Sherlock Holmes, or not Sherlock Holmes, the author did believe in spiritualism. So she's okay. Is it this? Is it that? And that's when she decides, because how hard can it be? So she's going to investigate. Right. And of course, the police of the day would not appreciate anybody like that getting involved, especially a woman or a young girl, because she is quite young.
A woman helping us forget about it. Go back to the kitchen where you belong.
Well, and that was their attitude, because that's how they were raised, and so on and so on.
Yeah, and that was, Sherlock Holmes was big around that time with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle churning out those pictures, or those novels, so yeah.
So, I think he believed in those fairy pictures that these girls had concocted, that he thought there was fairies and whatever. He was a very smart man writing, but he did believe in different things.
And then we've got Death and Denial, followed quite quickly after that?
Yes, I had been to Egypt, and I quite enjoyed the trip, and Well, I was boarding one of the riverboat. The idea for Death and Denial came to me, and Death and Denial, they're cruising down the Nile, and there's a body, there's a victim murdered in a locked room. So how does that happen?
Oh, boy.
So that was that. And then I brought my ladies back home to The Trouble with Funerals.
Right.
Now, The Trouble with Funerals, Mabel's mother lives in not an old folks home, but an old folks apartment.
Right.
And people are being knocked off for no particular reason. And why would you want to kill somebody that's, not an antagonist of yours, but why did this happen? So that was, and then Violet also, she gets involved with con man, so there's that too, that happens. And then I took them on another trip, because I'd also went on a Nordic tour, and I took them to Russia. All the way to different, and when you write a travel mystery, which Death and Denial and The Suspects are, you have to give the reader what they see, the feel of it, but you can't make it a travelogue. So I had a lot of things going on there. There was smugglers and con men, and then Mabel gets suspected of murdering the tour director in Russia, and she can't speak the language, so that was interesting.
Oh, boy.
And then I brought them back to Glenhaven for Murder Exit Stage Right.
Yeah.
I had directed for at least 15 years, Little Theater.
Okay.
And I always say, writing is like directing. Only all your characters show up on time and know their lines.
And they all live in the same place, in your brain.
Yes, that's right. Well, mind you, they do go off in a different direction than you actually thought it might. But they might. But anyway, that was Murder Exit Stage Right. And then, as I said, I thought I'd write a thriller, Moving is Murder. And again, like Mabel and Violet have always been able to solve these crimes, or these murders, which are crimes, obviously.
Yep.
But what happens if you think you're as smart as your antagonist, but you aren't? And this was where the thriller comes in. And the readers that has read Moving as Murder, some said they were up till 2 a.m. to see how it ended. So I think I did a pretty good thriller.
Right. That would be an excellent endorsement.
It boosted my ego.
Oh, yeah. That's great. So what's your day-to-day routine like? You've got golf is in there, but that's probably in the summertime only.
Yeah, well, in the winter I go to the gym 5 days a week, and I take the weekends off. And the same with golf. I golf 5 days a week and take the weekends off, except if it's windy. I take that off too.
Right.
But anyway, the winter is really good for writing. Not so much summer, because you have gardening, you have all these things outside, which in Canada we really kind of got to enjoy summer because winter is long. But for winter, when it's -40 and the snow is blowing out, I can be on the Sahara Desert or, I don't know, in a jungle, wherever, because that's where I'm writing. So winter is good for writing for me.
So you've been to on the Nile, and
I've been to over 45 countries.
Oh.
I've traveled quite a bit. I've been very, very lucky to have that opportunity to do that, I know. And I've enjoyed it. So there's all kinds of ideas comes for that. For when I know a writer's brain, I guess you always think, oh, that would make a good story.
Yeah, it's like, and is it, I've always heard that the key words, there's 2 words, it's what if. Oh,
yes.
What if this happened? And then that leads you to something else. Well, what if this guy or person, man, woman, child, whatever, did this, but then somebody else would have to do, so what would happen if? So, yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
There's always that. You just make a little twist.
Yeah.
Things cannot go smoothly, or that's just a boring book.
in the last set, well, you've been writing for a long time, since your 20s, right?
Yeah, I started out, thought I could write romance,
Yep.
but I found out I wasn't very romantic. I'd rather kill them and kiss them. So,
I love it. Rather kill them than kiss them. So the last 7 books, I guess, have you found your writing style has changed a little bit as you got more and more of these books under your belt, so to speak?
yes, I think so, because the whodunits, there's a lot of comedy or humor and mystery. I like doing that. The thriller, there was no humor and very little humor in that, and that was sort of, I needed to do that one, and I actually was, well, no, that would be a spoiler alert, so I won't. And then this, the Seance Murders, the historical, it's probably the hardest one I wrote to write, because the murder was easy.
Yep.
The murder was easy. That says something about me. But the murder was easy. But a historical mystery, it's not a history book, but you want to put it in that time.
Right.
And so you had to do a lot of research.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a historical society group in Regina and Saskatchewan groups that I contacted. And the Leader Post archives were just so helpful, not only to what was going on at that time, but what were people complaining about, what were the adverts, the advertising, and that gave you a real feel of the time, what people were like, the society.
Yep.
And another thing I found out, because in 1908 there was automobiles, but there was loads of horse and buggies and drays and so on and so forth. And there was no stop signs, no traffic lights for sure, and no stop signs. People just went willy-nilly. So that was quite interesting. And you had to find out, were there street lights, were there sidewalks, what did people dress like, what were their attitudes at that time. That was the hard part, but it was interesting. It was very, very interesting.
It's fun. I do that. That's kind of my hobby. I have a, not to do, it's not about me, but this is, I have a newspapers.com, and you can get all these old newspapers, and I can sometimes sit for hours just turning the pages on these old newspapers. You found out that such and such a cigarette is popular in 1911, or you can get beer delivered to your door in 1922 in Vancouver. And it's just nuts. It's great. So two more questions before we wrap it up with Joan Havelange from Russell, Manitoba, hotbed of intrigue and crime writing in Canada right now, thanks to Joan. I always ask my interview subject this: what advice, or what's the best advice you've ever had, or what can you pass on to other writers and even readers and people who are listening? What can you pass on?
Well, for writers, always remember the first draft is the story you're telling yourself. So enjoy that story, but then edit, and then edit some more. But the first draft, and your story is the only story. Like, there's many, many stories, but it's your point of view. So don't write it and stick it in a drawer. Just do it. If I can do it, anybody can.
What do you mean by edit? What's your definition of editing?
Oh, well, you have to have, there's many phases of writing your story.
Yep.
Like, you have to read your punctuation, your story. There has to be an up and down. Like, if you you look at any scene, there's an upswing and then a downswing. It can't always be a high, and it can't always be a low. You got to have a conflict, and right. Sometimes you have to resolve the conflict. And if you can't resolve the conflict, why can't you resolve the conflict? So it has to continue on. But you also have beta readers. I have beta readers. I think every author does. And they'll come in and they'll say, they won't change your story, but they'll question why you did something. They'll point out plot holes, because in your brain you have everything just hunky-dory.
Yep.
But you missed, how the heck did they get there? Where's their car?
Right. Oh, right. Yeah. How do you get there? Gotcha. And what are you working on? Do you have another title, a story in mind, or you just
Well,
kind
I
of waiting?
do.
Yeah.
I do have one, but I've got the outline and what has to happen and whatever. I really don't know who's going to murder him, but I think I do, or her, or whatever. It'll take place back in Glen Haven, that fictional town, Saskatchewan, and it will be. I'll go back to Mabel and Violet. It's sort of a rest from the historical, because that was a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So that you're going to take it easy with your next book. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I kind of know. I know all the people. Well, you have a Bible. You have to have a Bible of your town. You have to have a Bible of your characters, because someone will realize, hey, she had got red hair now. She didn't then.
Oh,
You know?
right. So you have to do, like you said, yeah, descriptions and character studies and plot motivations and all those kind of good things.
Yeah.
Yep. And your publisher is BWL, Books We Love?
Yeah, Books We Love, yes.
Okay, well...
And they have commissioned, and if your listeners, they have one out, well, not all of them are done, but for every province and territory in Canada. So
Great.
Wherever you're listening from, there's a story for you.
That's right. And there's a story inside all of us. Joan Havelange, thanks very much, and continued good luck, and maybe we won't wait so long to catch up to you the next time around.
Thank you so much, Dennis.
Thank you for visiting with us today. This is Talking Books and Stuff with Dennis Rimmer. Contact him at dennis@talkingbooks.tk. Thank you, and may all the good news be yours. Oh, and don't forget to check out his book, The Great Canadian Notebook, available across Canada and at amazon.ca.